It's kind of like those if-when questions. How are things going? Not well. Really well. If it's going well, okay, now I will continue to repeat this for X amount of time, and then I'll assess again after you repeat it for X amount of time. Do we need to stay on this exercise any longer? Kind of one of those yes or no trees where you're asking yourself questions the whole time, where it's like, how is this going? What's up, everybody? Hopefully you're doing well. What's going on, Bill? Pat, Bob, Chrissy, Kevin, George, good to see everybody. Hopefully all are doing good. Seeing some familiar faces. Paul, what's going on?
Hey.
Oh, man. Hopefully, let's see here. There we go. All right, everything's working now. Everything's working now. Or maybe it's working. So let's, if anybody's got some wins, if you've never been on a call, we always like to start with some wins. So if you got a win, we'd love to hear it from you. As well, if you just got something you're working on. I know we got a submitted question or two. I know we do have one from George that had come in. George, Grant forwarded that to me. He said Friday, I saw where he forwarded it, but I didn't have it in my email. So if I didn't respond, although there's a good chance I did respond and it just got lost in the massive emails of me forgetting that I responded. So please forgive me, but we'll cover that today too. But let's get a couple wins. Let's get a couple wins before we start on. Hold on here. We got a win from Evie. I can play. Oh, come on, Zoom. Immediately I tried to read it. I was like, guess what? A new feature just unlocked. It's like, I don't care. I can play a shuffle. All right, Evie. I remember, what song did we, well, you may not be able to talk. You may be at work. But what song were you working on? Wasn't there a song you're working on for that? Are you there? I do remember, though, so you don't have to answer. She was working on I think it was Mama Song, which is such a strange title, by Cody Jinks. But it's the perfect country song. It is a perfect country shuffle too, and it talks about beer and mama and trucks and getting divorced and all of those things. So it's pretty much a perfect country song. I don't think it talks about trains, but I guess we could fit that in there. And then let's see here. Paul says, "When coming to practice before noon, 2 days now." Yes. Awesome. That's a huge win. People mistake that win sometimes because, I don't know, I guess it seems like, oh, that should just be a given that we're doing. But consistently showing up, it is the number one thing that derails people. It's the one thing that I talk to people about. It is consistently showing up, consistently working on the material, consistently seeing that improvement, and consistently celebrating the small wins. It is... I wish I could say there was some secret sauce. That is the secret sauce. We show up, we do the work, we go home, we show up again, we do the work, and over a long period of time, guess what? You've done it. Pat, what's up, man? And yes, she did. Evie confirmed she's at work. Sorry to put you on the spot. Yeah, it was the Mama Song by Cody Jinks, which is a good song. What's up, Pat? How's the weather in Mississippi? I'm always asking that because it's just really humid in the summer.
We're getting a little bit of rain today, so that's good. It's been pretty dry. Haven't had to cut the grass that much this year, but getting a little rain. It's nice. Makes everything look a lot greener now. So it's verdant green outside. So I'm enjoying that. So
that's awesome.
My win is that, I don't know if you remember a while back, I said I was having some problems with a certain kick drum thing. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
And I did what you said, and it was good. But then I began to realize that the problem that I was having was technique. So, try to give an analogy here. It's like I was doing okay with heel up. I wasn't bad. I was meeting my goals and so forth. But I was completely neglecting all the other aspects of the kick drum. It was like taking antibiotics for a while till you're feeling better, and then you quit, and then later on, it comes back. So that's kind of what happened with the kick drum. So I went back in to the area on the kick drum on technique, and have started incorporated heel down, heel up. And then what I'm really getting into and is really, really helping a lot is the constant release aspect
Mhm.
of it. And playing some music and so forth, I can see how one technique isn't used necessarily throughout a certain song or through a, but it's what I'm discovering is using your, I'll be using heel down, and then later on in the song I'll be doing a combination of maybe I'll do a heel up and then getting into the constant release where you're really rocking your foot. Anyway, that's my win. Is that discovery?
Yeah, well,
And I'm
that's
having
a
fun
huge
with it.
one. That's a huge one. Realizing whenever we start to realize, because that's what I always am telling everybody. Like, we want to get the techniques to the point to where we're not thinking about the techniques. We kind of go in and out of them. So I never really think, like, when I'm playing around the drums, is that finger technique or most stroke? We focus on those, and some people get a little perturbed because they're like, well, I'm not just going to use this. I'm not just going to. No, we won't. But we have to focus on it for a little while. Similar to in school, we focus on certain things in grammar or in history or whatever. We can't focus on everything at once. And a lot of the part of, especially foot technique, because we don't use the foot in the way that we as how should we say, in as tactile a way as we use the hands. I mean, we're always grabbing things. I mean, try to grab something with your foot. You'll feel like you just have a nub there. It's like, what is happening? I have toes. And so it's like, realizing that the ankle can move, and we could be up like this, or we could be down and just move this, or we could move the whole leg, or we could move side to side sometimes, or even just that the ankle can do this motion. I mean, I know, if you took tap dancing, they teach you, like, tap dancing is a tap dancing is a fantastic example of utilizing kind of the hinging of the foot. So anyway, but that's a great realization. And I still have these things. If I'll notice, like, oh wow, it's incorporated there. I was teaching at the level 2 camp of last month, and we were doing bass drum shuffles, and I noticed that I had started integrating that kind of naturally into my used to. It was all downs, and then it was swivel side to side, and then I started kind of integrating this heel toe type of thing, or constant release, and it just kind of snuck in there. I was like, okay, well, that's getting more comfortable, and I've been doing it for how many years, so that's very cool. So has that more of an awareness of how the foot moves and those types of things, has that helped you?
Oh, tremendously. It really has. Because, like I was saying, some songs that I was wanting to do, I could do the exercise, for lack of a better word, without the music. But then when I put the music on, I would fumble it, and it was just very frustrating. So I just put it all aside, went back to technique, and now I can go back and play the songs, that those areas that was giving me trouble. So, it really has really helped. I don't quite have the speed that I want, but I'm really getting the technique, which, as you say, the speed will come later. As I continue to work on it.
Right. Good. That's good. Was it a particular song, or was it just an exercise? I feel like there was a song you were working on.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody know this song, but it's I'd Love You to Want Me. Also, another one is Listen to the Music, where they use it's got the same little kick drum thing that a 4 and 1. It's 1 and a 2, a 4
I was
and
gonna say
1.
it's ba ba bum ba dun dun
Yeah,
boom ga da da
yeah, that's the one. And I was trying to do it all heel up, and it just wasn't working. I couldn't get my foot to work. But anyway, doing the technique and going back, I don't have a problem with that particular kick drum groove there on that song, or
very
other
cool.
song. Well, that has that.
That's awesome.
It's
That's
a win.
good. Yeah. Hey, I'll take them.
I'll take.
We got a submitted question from George that from email. So let's do that, and then we got Bob after that. Grant, do you want to read the email and then show the page that he was saying as well.
Yeah, and then also we right when the call started, we had another submitted question come in, so we have another one as well.
Oh, okay,
All right,
cool.
This is from George. He's got some attached sheet music that I'll pull up in just a minute. It says, I'm taking a step back to work on jazz exercise. When I'm learning a new exercise, what do you folks suggest for a length of time for repetition? Do you recommend 1 minute on an average or a number of times to play it successfully? When I started, I was taught at 40 BPM. I cannot remember how long I spend to get deep before moving to the next exercise. You may have mentioned this on one of your other exercises, but then he also has a question about the sheet music that I've attached that I'm just going to go ahead and pull up. And then that way you can kind of explain what's going on here. Let's see if I remember how to do this.
So it's the big green button, share screen.
Got it.
I miss it every time,
Right.
and they make it green.
Can you guys see this?
No.
Oh, I got to click the actual button. How about now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, what's the question about this?
Hold on. I got to pull it up again.
It's the ties.
The ties. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Specifically, that's my question about this. What's your question about the tie?
The regular routine. I was taught walk the dog for my rhythm. Walk the dog, walk the dog, walk the dog. But on this particular one, it's got a tie between the split of 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how to play that. Do I play it as a 3? Do I play it as the end of 2 and just play one hit?
I mean, and that is, we were just discussing this before we came on because I didn't know the context of the exercise. And sometimes, especially in drum notation, people use a tie incorrectly. And a tie, just for everyone to know, if you have 2 notes, the tie, Grant just circled it, the tie we're talking about is that smiley face in between the 2 notes. And what that does is that makes the note 1. So let's say you tie 2 quarter notes. That means you have a half note. You hit it and you continue the duration of that note. It makes both of those notes the sum of what they are, right? And so you don't play that second note. Sometimes in drum notation, though, they're like, no, I meant to play it legato. And so they put this tie on the thing, and that is not at all what it means to play it legato. There's another marking for that. And so in that particular instance, so we're looking at the bottom of that triplet on the ride cymbal. It's chang, 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 chang. And that pattern without the tie, just for everybody else. With the tie.
Excellent.
Yeah, which is a real common variation that Elvin would throw in there. He was a real triplet bass drummer, and we're getting into that time period. Elvin, a lot of players in his early career, players had trouble playing with Elvin because he interpreted time differently, as did Tony Williams, although Tony Williams started so early. But during that time period, like up until that time, if you played a jazz ride pattern, jazz was not broken up. It was, if it was a jazz song, you were playing that pattern. And you got players like Elvin and Roy Haynes and Max Roach and Tony Williams and all these cats come along. Well, instead of just this, you had them start to make some small changes to it. And especially with Elvin, he would start putting in, So Elvin viewed the drum kit as one sound source. He didn't view it, and a lot of other players do too, especially in jazz. But he thought, well, if I'm keeping time here, why can't I keep that same time? You know? And then you had Tony Williams come along, who really threw everybody for a loop, and he said, you know, I hear that more is more as 16th notes. It's almost straight how Tony was feeling it. And so yeah, but that's a really good question. To your first question, did that answer that, George? By the way.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, I lost you.
You muted yourself.
There we go. Yeah, that was a nice job of it because they're written identical except for the tie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I assumed that it meant one, but I wasn't sure if it mattered where they'd hit, if it was on the end of the triplet, or if it was on three, or if it mattered one way or the other.
Yeah, that's a good question. You hit on the note that the tie begins with. So whatever note the tie begins with is what you would hit on. And then to your question about how long do you practice something, I wish I had an answer for that. I've been asked that forever. You know, and sometimes I'll put like practice this exercise for 5 minutes. Or some people, they're very. You work with all different kind of people that approach it from different ways, and some are a little bit more. You just gotta feel it, and some are like, I need actually the exact BPM and how long you want me to play that every day, and it's like, okay, well, let's see, you know. I don't know. And so for me, I play something until it's very, very comfortable. Okay. And when it comes, and I may be like, okay, cool, I'm going to set the timer and I'm going to play this for 5 minutes. And I'm just going to see how it feels after 5 minutes. Because there's a settled in feeling that happens once you've been playing something for a little while. And so sometimes I'll assess how something feels, not at the beginning of when I was playing it, but how is it feeling the last, you know, minute 4, minute 5? How does it feel then? Is it feeling more natural? And once I have that kind of a feeling of it's very natural, then I try to go, okay, how can I get it to feel like that from the beginning of the piece when I'm playing it, or from the beginning of the exercise? So I not as much time as I'm looking for how does it feel in here, if that makes any sense. Like musically, is that feeling good? Am I kind of in the vibe? Am I not thinking about it? Does it feel herky-jerky? Do I feel tense? Am I playing it correctly? That's another thing we want to look at, right? I know you asked about correct repetitions, but once we have that correct repetition, I want to sit in that a little while. I want to sit in it and just kind of, you know, marinate and let it kind of try to soak up some of the vibe there for that particular thing. So I wish I could tell you a specific. Once you have the exercise, do this many repetitions, or do this long. I know sometimes I've set my timer and said, okay, cool, I'm going to play, you know, this pattern or this exercise for this long, now that I have it correct. And then maybe every day I'll revisit that and say, okay, for every day I'm going to play this exercise 5 minutes, and that gives me a hard marker. And I use timers in my practice time actually a good bit. And I'll set the timer and say, okay, I'm not even worried. Like, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not distracted. The next 5 minutes, I'm just doing this exercise. And I do nothing but that exercise. And I can look over at the timer. It's like, well, timer's not up, so I'm still doing the exercise. Then when I look at okay, time's up. Let me assess where I am. Do I want to go further? So that could be something once you get it, you know, once you get it mastered, it's like, okay, I'm going to devote X amount of time each practice session to revisiting this exercise and making sure that I have it inside of me before I move on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I noticed some of your exercises that I was doing, one would say play for 1 minute, and then the next might say play for 2. And what I was doing was playing, can I play it 4 measures correctly.
Hmm.
And if I was really first starting to learn something, and I wasn't sure. And so your answer was really good because it changes what you're saying. There's no set pattern. Just do it until you feel comfortable. I don't know if I told you, but I may have mentioned this, I'm sure. I trained dogs for a living for 27 years. I specialized in behavior issues. And one of the exercises rules that I had when I was training a dog was you're going to start working on an exercise for a minute and you're going to stop. I'm going to ask myself, what am I trying to teach the dog?
Hmm.
What's the dog learning? If they're learning what I'm trying to teach, I then continue for another minute. If they're not, I need to back up, make sure I'm clear. And so I found that some of the music exercises I was working on, I would get it great for about 3 times. And on the 4th one, it would be like I would miss like something minor. And so I kept doing it. And then after about 4 times of trying it, I said, okay, I got to stop and walk away for a minute. Is that appropriate?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, a lot that you did with dog training, if you did it for that long, obviously you're successful at it or you're very hard-headed. You're the most hard-headed guy I know, right? It's either, I ran a business for 27 years and never saw a profit. Like, okay, you just must have loved the business or you're just very hard-headed, right? So the main thing that's very, very important, I'm coaching my son's flag football team again, which is funny because I'm learning more about football. I really don't know a lot about football. I know a lot about coaching and teaching, and so that's translating a lot. And it's the same thing I told the players when we're running the drills. Wasn't just like, okay, we're going to run, there's a drill called the snake where one starts here and one starts here. A defender and offense has the ball. They run around and the defender has to pull flags, right? And the offense has to shank them or get past them. Not shank them. You don't want to kill them. Has to get past them. And as they're running it, I will stop them and say, okay, do we see what happened here? You did this, X, Y, and Z. Defender, you're kind of just jogging. Get around here before that. Like, I'm giving them that feedback. And I think the most important thing you said is it's the assessment. It's how is the exercise going, whether it be with a dog or whether it be on the drums. Am I learning what I'm supposed to be learning? If I'm not, it's kind of like those if-when questions. How are things going? Not well. Really well. If not well, what is the problem? Well, X, Y, Z. Then we go backwards and we assess X, Y, Z. If it's going well, we started with, how's it going? No, yes. If it's going well, okay, now I will continue to repeat this for X amount of time and then I'll assess again after you repeat it for X amount of time. Do we need to stay on this exercise any longer? Yes, I still don't have it. No, I'm good to go. And so it's kind of one of those, yes or no trees where you're asking yourself questions the whole time where it's like, how is this going? And that's really what I'm looking for in anything you're working on. I told them yesterday, I said, if you make a mistake, what I don't want to see is, oh man, I always throw it way too far ahead of them. Oh man, I said, that doesn't help. What helps is you go, there was a mistake made, and then immediately tell yourself, because there's a lot of power in us speaking to ourselves. Our brain listens. It listens to what we're saying to ourselves. So whenever we point out the issue, the brain listens. So football, for instance, I had one guy last night, he was trying out for quarterback. He kept throwing the ball behind the receiver. And I kept telling him, I'm like, the problem is you're throwing it behind it. And he'd do it a 3rd time. Oh man, I said, don't do that because that doesn't help. I said, there was a mistake made. You still threw it behind the receiver. So the next time I want you to try to throw it too far in front of the receiver. And he tried to throw it too far in front of the receiver and he hit him in the chest. And I said, okay, cool. So we just need to work on you honing in where that is. But it didn't do any good to just good or bad. That's a qualitative judgment. That doesn't help us. What you did with the dogs is very, very helpful. So you can do that with your drumming. How's it going? Not well, and assess that.
My wife says she doesn't understand nut drumming, but she definitely gets a kick out of when I make a mistake because I get start giggling. I'll laugh at myself. I go, oh shit, no, do it again. And so she'll be upstairs in the kitchen, hear me playing. All of a sudden she'll hear me go, oh shit.
Yeah. No, I don't like for people to listen to me practice because I'm in here I'm like, come on, what are you doing? What was that? Didn't you see that? That's not, it's funny how we talk to ourselves.
Good.
I was in a band on Bourbon Street when I was on Bourbon Street, and just to keep it light, when somebody made a mistake, the bass player would get on the microphone, ladies and gentlemen, Steven Taylor on the drums. And I'm like, wave to the crowd, a little mistake, and everybody laughs. And, so that's cool, man. And you actually had not told me that you were a dog trainer. So that's very cool. Bob, what's up, man?
This podcast is brought to you by the Drum Better Daily program. That's actually my online drum school that I've run now for 12 plus years. Not only have I been playing the drums professionally since the age of 15, I've been teaching since the age of 18. Matter of fact, I talked to one of my first student a few days ago. I actually called him to see if he could sub a gig out for me. Daniel, love you, man. And he's still playing. He's still doing it on a pro level. I would love to have you go check it out at stevensdrumshed.com. You can find a link to that in the show notes or video description, whichever platform you're watching it on. But it truly is a community of like-minded drummers where we are striving to just be the best that we can be at the drums. In addition to over 70 pre-recorded drum courses, there's also a tech talk area where we talk about everything technology related as it pertains to the drums, e-kits, recording, doing videos, all of that stuff. There are forums where you can hang out with the other students as well. We do 2 live video student calls every week that you can join if you'd like to. We do guest artist calls monthly, and I'll even make you a personalized lesson plan if that's what you need. Yes, we talk about the nuts and bolts of drumming. Yes, I give you exercises, but we also talk a lot about how to practice more efficiently, how to practice better, and how to get more out of your practice time. I know you're just like me. You're busy, you're being pulled by work, by family, by friends, by other responsibilities. Whenever you practice, you really want to see gains and have it be productive. That is what we focus on in the Drum Better Daily program. I'll have to say personally, it's been really cool because some of these students I've worked with for over 12 years, we started running drum camps last year in 2022, and I got to meet some of them in person for the first time. Those drum camps have been selling out. They've been just blowing my mind with how much fun they are and how great a time it is to bring the community together in person. A community that was started online and has been going online strong now for over 12 years. I'd love to have you be a part of it.
What's up, man? Nice shirt, by the way.
It's required, right?
Exactly.
It's nice listening to your problem-solving algorithm you developed. However, that doesn't work all the time.
Oh, I agree. It doesn't work all the time. I don't think anything works 100% of the time.
Sometimes you just got to scream.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If that was a tactic, yes. Yes. If we were listing like all the tactics that we can do, yes, screaming in frustration. And as a matter of fact, you'll be interested in this, Bob. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we're talking about, what you allow your kids to say or things like that, So we're talking about cussing and not having your 7-year-old sit there and, say curse words all day. But at the same time, we brought up a study that they had done that there's a different emotional reaction whenever we stub our toe and we allow ourselves to say an appropriate word. So, maybe you drop an F-bomb or something when you stub your toe, which to me is a logical time to say that when you're, but it was different. The whole point of that is there's a different emotional reading whenever we allow ourselves to vent the frustration in the proper manner. And so, yes, if screaming were a tactic, that's listed in the arsenal.
What I wanted to ask you about was triples and interlacing triples, which I've just started doing. But getting them even is very tough. I find that when I do my version of doing a triple is you have the molar stroke, bounce, and lift. My first stroke is much louder than the other two, especially when I try to interlace, because I have to get that momentum to get that da-da-da, da-da-da. Is there a way you could make them even? Up, 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 up?
So that's a good question. They do get even. To me, molar, and that's the thing, everything has its strength and everything has its weakness. If we're wanting to play just an even single stroke roll for 15 measures or whatever, that wouldn't necessarily, the continuous 3-stroke molar would not be that wouldn't be the tool I'd be utilizing. Because again, your point, we need the consistency there. To me, the molar pumping motion, the 3-stroke, the 4-stroke, 5-stroke even. You can check these out. Hand Technique 101, everybody, is where these concepts are taught. And so they're real useful when we're on the drums and we have landing points. Like you're talking about the 3-stroke molar. That's a real useful thing whenever we're playing. But getting all of those, I mean, I can get them somewhat. But there's a limitation to that because with a molar stroke, we have to have an initiating stroke. And that initiating stroke is going to be stronger than the rebound stroke that comes back. So for me, you know, like when we're doing this hi-hat molar pumping motion. So for everybody that's wondering, that is a downstroke and an up. And on the up, we automatically can hinge the wrist and we have another stroke. Right? Well, you notice there's one note that's louder. Same thing with this 3-stroke. So it's very useful on that pattern, but at the same time, you're gonna have that downbeat accent wherever you're initiating that, or if it's on the upbeat. It's like wherever I'm throwing that, there is gonna be a harder. So you've now tapped into, this is the limitation of that technique, is it's meant for when we're playing. But if I was, and I just wanted to play this seamless single stroke roll, no. And this is a good point in case for this, Bob, that would translate. Is I'm working through, I realized I'd never played Tom Sawyer all the way through as written, and I thought that would be kind of fun to learn. So the hi-hat pattern he plays on there, even though it's 16th, you know, it's not. Which is a down up type of thing. It's very even. And so diving into and realizing, oh, wow. So a lot of players I saw play it were playing it wrong. I looked him up playing it live. It's the same thing. It's a very even thing. And even his hi-hat lifts, Grant and I were talking about this yesterday, his hi-hat lifts on the first verse, he's not thinking about, to me, he's just raising it on the and of 4. He's thinking about raising it on the and of 4. Because of the way he hits the hi-hat and how quickly it comes in and all those like once we dig into the nuances, I think it's fascinating the different techniques, and just by changing how we think about that stroke or hi-hat lift, it can change the sound.
That looked like a very wristy stroke, what you're just doing there.
Yeah, you almost have to. That whole thing, it's very wristy, for lack of a better word, yeah. But it's definitely not this. Which is how, that's how Jeff Porcaro would have played it. Right? That's a Jeff Porcaro type of vibe. But it's really interesting how he decided to play it. So, but yeah, I don't know. That's the limitation of that technique. It's like, yeah. We interlace it, we got the accents, but...
Going back to that stroke, though, you know, they always say that it's bam, bounced, and lift. I find the last two are almost a press roll. You've almost pressed those two. It's bam, bounce, and press. more
Yeah.
than
More than a lift.
yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I still think of it as a lift, but I guess you could think of it as a press if you were. Yeah. So I think as long as the end result comes out the same way,
Sure. Yeah.
you know, you can think of it
Semantics.
either way. Yeah. So very cool.
David.
Grant, did I miss anything?
Um,
There's a bunch in
yes,
the chat. Did I miss
Evie,
any questions?
So Kevin has a win. He says he played the Beautiful People clean at 130 BPM. I've just got to get it up to where it's at 140, but I'll get there.
Hey, 130 ain't far from 140, man.
But
It's
close.
just around. It's just around the corner. Just around the corner. So, yeah, inch it up 1 BPM at a time. Do that.
Yeah.
I bet if you do that 1 BPM at a time every day, I bet you'd be there in 10 or 15 days, no problem. Which seems like a long time, but yeah.
I'm hoping it's actually just the one section that throws me off. It's the only,
that's-
I've got one
that's
section
even-
that crashes.
That's even better to know. Which section?
It's where you're riding the bell.
Mm-hmm.
So I can do the toms fine. I can do that beyond the 140. I can do the other, because it's really got three different parts. I can do the two parts. I can do faster than the 140. But when I'm riding that bell, that one is it's just taking me time. But I'm happy. I never
Yeah.
thought I'd be able to play it.
That's awesome. Well, and that's the cool thing about it is you already know where the problem is, so you don't have to run the whole song. You just run that
Exactly.
section. You can play the rest of the song. So now it's like just target in on that one area, and then move on from there. You know.
Exactly.
Very cool. That's a good song. I forgot about that one. It's the Marilyn
It's
Manson
fun.
version, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. Okay.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a really fun song. Let's see here.
We had a submitted question come in right before the call started as well.
Okay, cool. Let me get Evie real quick, and then we'll get that question. What should and let's do Greg's win, and then Evie. I started playing the wrong song at church, but was able to recover. I think some time ago I may have had to stop and start over. Helps to have a great keys player. Yeah, that's awesome. Whenever you can make a mistake in real time and correct it, you know, when you're not a deer in the headlights, and you know, that's I remember that. Used to the mistake would just like scar me to the core. I can't believe I did that. Oh God! You know, of course you did. You're a human, you know. I was with a band for a year and a half, and I would start the wrong song. Sometimes that's really embarrassing, you know. And it's like crap, you know. I just couldn't hear it. I couldn't see it, or maybe it was low light, or I lost my place in the set list, or you know, any reason. But I wish that I could stop making a mistake. And then it's either like, are we doing this? You know, they're looking at you, and it's like, I think there's a way out, you know, or yeah, we're gonna do this because there's no way out. Evie, what should an interview with a potential drum teacher look like? What should I ask, and what should they ask me? I actually just did a podcast on this that's not published yet, so it helps you zero. That's a good question. For me, everybody's different. Everybody is different. So I want to make sure that I vibe with a drum teacher on a personal level first. I want to make sure that it's not, I mean, it's going to be awkward because you're just meeting the person, right? But I want to make sure that there's no immediate kind of like, oof, I do not like this person, you know, or oof, I don't think this is going to work, you know? And if there's none of that, then it's going into, I would want to do a couple test lessons because I want to see what they're going to do. What I don't want you doing is going in and having a question about what you're supposed to be doing. They should be writing it down. They should have a plan. It should not sound like they're coming up with this spur of the moment, knee-jerk reaction. The thing I hate that drum teachers do is when you come in and they're like, so, what do you want to work on this week? Now, occasionally, if they're trying to get a bead on who you are as a player, that's when those questions come in. So what are you working on? What are you wanting to work on? What are your goals? Where are you going? Those types of leading questions. But if every week you come in and your drum teacher's like, so, what do you want to work on this week? I'd be like, well, that is your job. You're supposed to tell me what we're working on. I'm coming to you and I don't know how to do this. So if that's the only question that person is asking you all the time, and you're changing choruses every week. 1 week we're working on 2 measures of this song. 1 week we're working on this exercise. Let's change chorus and now we're going to do this. Like we just can't see any progress if we do that. So from the teacher's aspect, I'm looking for a little bit of organization. I'm looking, because what you're wanting, and I learned this when I was personal training, what you're wanting is at the end of the day to get done with your practice time and not have this question. Is this where I need to be going? Like, is this what I need to be doing? That's the question that a drum teacher should eliminate for you. And if they don't, guide them and say, hey, I still am questionable about where we're going, because maybe it's unintentional. Because maybe some of them don't know that's their job, but you're coming to them to get some type of a plan together so that you have some path forward that you trust in. And if you trust that path, then you constantly are referring back to that and going, nope, we made a plan and now we're marching to it. Instead of at the end of every practice session going, I don't think this is the way I'm supposed to go. I don't think this is the, it's same thing, I guess, as a commitment in a relationship. I made a commitment a long time ago and got married, and whenever it's a bad day, I'm not like, is this the direction I'm supposed to? It's like, no, we decided we were going to get married and build a life. I think I'm going to stick to that commitment. Let's move on, So it kind of takes that question out of the equation. But that's the biggest thing I'm looking for from a drum teacher is once they've assessed kind of where you are, what your likes are, what your dislikes. I always love to find out what kind of music do you like to play? What are you interested in? And then can we cater the lessons in that direction so that it keeps your interest, so that we're working on music that you love, those kinds of things. And we have to give a little room for them to make a mistake and correct. But the thing I definitely don't want is for you to leave the lessons feeling like you don't have a plan, or feeling like maybe you're just coming in and they're just like, okay, well, what are we doing? So when I have somebody come in, the first thing I want to do is review what were we doing last week? Okay, cool. Can I hear some of that? What were the problems you had this week? What were the successes you had this week? So we hear some of that, we talk about that, and then we spend the other half of the lesson developing the plan for the next week, which is usually furthering what we just did. And it's maybe me demonstrating some of that, maybe getting them to also demonstrate it back so that they understand the concept, and then moving on. Every teacher is different, but that's the biggest thing I'm looking for is the assurance that I'm on the right path. We developed a path together, and this is going to get me to where I want to go. And then I would give the teacher a chance, give them a few weeks and see how it's going. See if you like the direction, and don't be afraid to give them some feedback of like, hey, this week I was kind of questioning. I don't really understand why we're doing this. I don't understand where we're going with this. And that constant kind of back and forth feedback. As well, it's real important with a teacher that you do the work. It's important that you plug in and that you come to the lesson with something to show them. It's not great. It's not a great lesson from a teacher's perspective if you are asked to play something every week and you can't play it, because then they have no way to give you feedback. They have no way to move you forward. They have no way. There's nothing for them to work with there if the exercises are always staying static, if we're never moving forward with them. So your responsibility as the student is, now that you've committed to that teacher and you're paying them for their time and they're hopefully giving you a good lesson plan, your job in that whole experiment is to go, okay, they said work on this week. Start working on it. And if you get to midweek and you're like, I don't agree with this direction, well, you develop that direction with the teacher. So try to work on that material, go back and give it an opportunity for that kind of give and take back and forth. It's very helpful for a teacher whenever they can do that. It's very hard to teach a lesson whenever you come in unprepared, or whenever you come in and we spend the whole time talking about maybe your feelings about where you are instead of actually working on the material of where we are. It's okay to say I'm kind of bummed with where I am, but then let's move on from that. Like, we don't want to spend the whole lesson talking about how, your paradiddles have depressed you all week and you really are frustrated that they're not better. And it's like, well, I know, me too. Mine aren't. Let's keep working, let's dive in and do the work. So, but I do have a podcast that I would be coming out here in a couple of weeks that actually addresses that too. It's kind of like, hey, what are you looking for in a teacher? And how can you assess if that teacher is, helpful or not helpful or whatever? And I think we blew right past the giveaway, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
What What are we giving away? We forgot to say at the beginning call what we were giving away, Grant.
We are giving away a T-shirt from the merch store, online shirt store that we have.
Nice. Of which you can see a few on this call. Grant's wearing our newest camp shirt from this year, and I'm wearing, and Bob was wearing the classic. We'll call it the classic, the SDS classic. And I may be missing someone else wearing theirs, but all right, cool. We got it. You ready?
Pat.
That was very aggressive. I like
It was
that.
aggressive. I don't know why that happened.
That was very aggressive, man. Pat, you got a shirt or leggings or, look, man, look, whatever you like to wear, that's great.
He scared the heck out of me. Ah! No. Oh.
That's amazing. All right. Let's see. We got another submitted question. And then what's up, Bob? What you got?
Grant needs to send my drumstick bag back, so I won't be able to pick it up this year.
Oh, yeah. Do we still have that, Grant?
Yes, we do.
Okay, cool. We'll get that back to you, Bob.
That'd be so cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man. And the other submitted question.
All right. We got a question from Dustin. It says, "Hey, Steven, I'm currently working on module 1. For some reason, I'm having trouble understanding the bottom number when it comes to time signature. I get that the top number in 4/4 means that there are 4 beats per measure, but what information is the bottom number telling us?"
That's a good question. It's a very good question. The bottom number is telling you what note gets the value. And this is Stephen's, layman's explanation of this. And so a demonstration of this. 4/4 time. We have the 4 on top, and that means there's 4 notes. There's 4 beats per measure. The question then is it a quarter note? Is it an eighth note? Is it a 16th note? What are we subdividing the time by? So the bottom note, or the bottom number, is what note we're subdividing by. So in 4/4 time, we're subdividing by the quarter note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And so that is called 4/4 time. Even though there's 8 eighth notes in that, and I guess we could call it 8/8 time, but that is 4/4 time, right? Then you get into odd time signatures, which would be like a 3/4. So an odd time signature 3/4 means there's 3 beats per measure, and the beats are quarter notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Some examples of other bottom numbers changing. A common one would be 8. So 6/8. That's a very common time signature. So there's 6 beats per measure, and the 8th note gets the subdivision. And that kind of has a different, it feels different. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just so you know, 6/8 and 12/8, since we're talking about time signatures, are considered compound meters. Because sometimes when you're playing dun 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 ba da dun ba 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 da, the blues are in 12/8, but they kind of feel similar to 4, don't they? Bum, dun, 3, 4, ba dum, bum. Right? So it's important to understand that 6/8 and 12/8 are what they call compound meters. And a compound meter is simple. It just means it's divisible by 2 and by 3, right? So we can divide that. So you can subdivide it in 6/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same with 12/8. And then a true odd time signature means that it's an actual odd number on the top. So it's going to be 7/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or 7/4 or 5/4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and. And I'll give you an example of that. Like 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Whereas 5, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And now you may be saying, if you're a math expert and can add 5 plus 5, you may be like, well, wait a second, Stephen, 2 measures of 5, 8 equals 1 measure of 5, 4. Sure, it does. Absolutely. And so then we're going off of what determines that bottom number. And what determines the bottom number, whether it's an 8 or a 4, 16 is another number that goes at the bottom very often. Those are really the most common ones you're going to see. It's a 4, an 8, or a 16. 16, not very often. But at that point, we're looking at chord changes. We're looking at what is the bass player playing. We're looking at how are the other players subdividing the song. So if it's subdivided like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, that very well could be 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. But if this whole thing is subdivided like 1, 2, 3, ba, dun, dun, da, 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 ba, da, dun, dun, ba, dun, that feels weird, you know, if it's like, dun, ba, da, dun, to play something like this, you know. I mean, it's kind of a cool feel, but in theory, either one of those could work. It's not until we hear the rest of the song, the lyrics, the chord changes, the harmonies, the counterpoint, the lead lines, all of that helps us understand what it's in. That was a very long answer to your very simple question, which is the bottom number means quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes. It kind of means what is getting the division of beats there within the measure. So it's a good question, though. That's a very good question. And I went way too long in my career without understanding. I mean, I don't even think I understood that bottom number could change. I think it was just like, no, you're just counting different, you know? So anyway, was that, did we get all of the submitted questions?
That's all the submitted question. And Greg has a win in there. I don't think we covered.
What? We missed a win. Hold up. Win. No, I talked about it. Started playing the wrong song?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he started playing the wrong song. See, there you go, accusing me of things I'm not even doing. No, we got that one. Let's see. What is AI Companion? Bob's asking. I don't know, and I'm scared to enable it on the call without knowing what it is. They've rolled out a ton of changes, and I don't know what they do. And so usually before we try to do something on a Zoom call, we just test it so it's not some weird feature where all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, that was a weird experience for everybody. I'm real sorry about that. You know,
I was going to ask for an AI companion because I'm kind of lonely now.
I'm kind of lonely. I just needed someone, maybe AI, to come along, keep me company. Awesome. Well, we have a call next week. When's that call next week, Grant?
We have a call. We have a call on Monday. It's a tech talk at 12, and a call on Wednesday, a Q&A at 3.
Awesome. The tech talks are run by Tim Buell. He's a staff teacher here. He's an awesome drummer, awesome transcriptionist, awesome engineer. So some of you that came to the Level 1 camp this year got to meet Tim after a long time. And he's also doing the transcription that I'll be sending out later this week to First Date by Blink-182. And it's the correct transcription. The amount of technology he uses to understand, like he sent me something today and it was an interview with the engineer, an hour interview with the engineer that engineered this song that was soloing the drum tracks. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to quite go this nerdy. You could just listen to the song. But he's really in depth. And so we'll be putting that in the song section later this week. I'm doing a playthrough of it on the YouTube channel, but we'll be putting it with sound slice so that you can kind of slow it down and see what's going on with that drum part. So awesome. We will see everybody Monday on the call.